Here's the audience, and me the speaker. Alright. Imagine this. Your child is taken in the middle of the night, and you find a note saying that if you do not pay the ransom, your child will be killed. But later that day, you find your child in the basement, lifeless. This is what happened to the Ramsey family on December 26, 1996, when their daughter, Jean-Benet Patricia Ramsey, was murdered. The point of this case is that the case is second in infamy to Jack the Ripper, and it has been investigated for 15 years. But even though this case is still unsolved, but despite it being an infamous unsolved case, it is still investigated, even though it is still unsolved. First off, who was Jean-Benet Ramsey? She was born in Atlanta, Georgia, to John and Patricia Ramsey. When she was 9 months old, her parents and her moved to Boulder, Colorado, where she participated in many beauty pageants as she grew up. It all seemed like the American dream, but then that dream quickly escalated into a nightmare. Jean-Benet disappeared at 5:27 a.m. on December 26. Her parents find a ransom note ordering them to pay $118,000. If that condition was not met, Jean-Benet would be beheaded. But 8 hours later, John, her father, walked up from the basement carrying his child's body. The autopsy showed that Jean-Benet was sexually assaulted. She was strangled and hit in the head with a blunt object. Here's a few things of the ransom letter that the Ramseys found. An investigation began, and so did a list of suspects. The three prime suspects were Burke, her brother, and both of her parents. Burke was quickly ruled out since he was only 9 years old at the time. Then her parents became the center of their assumption. One thing led was a student had done a montage of Jean-Benet Ramsey and called it Daddy's Little Hooker. Of course, John was offended. But was he offended because they were trashing his daughter's name or his name, or was it that the truth hurt? But then they turned to Patsy. Patsy, in her youth, was a beauty queen. But Jean-Benet was winning more awards than she did. So she could have been jealous. But they still say they are innocent today. The Ramseys and the media. When the media started criticizing the Ramseys, they immediately took action. They went on interviews and talk shows, but were always met with disgrace and hate. In 2006, they both wrote the book, The Death of Innocence, and later that year, Patsy died of ovarian cancer. She is now buried in Marietta, Georgia, beside her daughter. The case takes a new turn. 15 years later, new evidence came to the eye of the police. And True Crimes with Aphrodite Jones was a documentary that I had watched. Aphrodite is a famous investigator. She was contacted by John Carr, who had confessed to killing Jean-Benet Ramsey. But as soon as they kidnapped him and brought him to the trial, none of his DNA showed that he was ever near the Ramsey house, so he was quickly let go. Unsolved, but not forgotten. Despite all new evidence, the case is still unsolved. The killer is still out there, maybe even watching us. So even if he is watching, I'd like to give him a message. I don't know what you had hoped to gain by killing this child, whether it's revenge on the parents or just to show what you could do. But nothing can justify what you did to a child. You not only killed her, but you robbed her of a promising future. Even though you have evaded the authorities, there's one force in this world you can never hide from. And whatever he is playing for you in the afterlife is far more harsher than what's waiting for you here in this life. So my suggestion to you is to pick up the phone, call the police, and turn yourself in. Then maybe the police and God will have pity on you. Thank you for your time, and good night.